I hope all is well. Welcome to Pearl, a world where modern-day princesses strive for class, sass, and strass. I'm your host, Victoria, and today's episode is all about Catholic dating and also just dating advice that I would give to girls even outside of the faith, or even just Christian girls, non-denominational, or Protestant girlies, because I just see a lot of kind of backward things, and it seems like we kind of prioritize dating through the quote-unquote Christian culture rather than through a heart that is Christ-like, if that makes any sense. I think we care more about looking like we're dating through a Christian lens than actually living that out. So if this sounds like a topic that you're interested in, or even if you have any ideas or questions about, I would love to do more on this, as this is actually going to be my first episode ever kind of on dating and more relationship-based things. So let me know if you like this kind of content, and I will definitely start to do more of it in the future. But okay, let's get right into it. So the first thing that I would say is very important when it comes to discerning a possible future boyfriend, and then hopefully future husband, is actually examining how important your faith is to you. So if you are kind of like level 9 or level 10 Catholic, if that makes sense, I would highly then recommend that you do look for a Catholic man or a Christian man. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but I've actually heard a lot of people, especially in today's world, that are willing to kind of settle if it means that they find, a perfect complement, if you will, or a perfect partner or whatever, and sacrifice them possibly being Catholic. And I totally get that. And even personally, I go through, I like go back and forth on this. I'm like, would I date a Protestant? Would I date, an atheist or an agnostic? And just personally, my faith is so important to me that like it is low-key vital that I also find a Catholic complement and a Catholic man. So I highly recommend, if your faith is extremely important to you, that is something you do not settle on and you just trust in God's process. And also a little piece of advice, like there's no rush. I know so many girls when they're young, for some reason, have this like obsession with marriage and like you need to have kids and be married by like 24 or something. And it's like, I personally just can't seem to think that God would just make that the standard for everybody. I mean, I'm sure he might have your person, like for some people, he might have their person at 35 or 32 or 28 or something. So I would just say, don't follow your own will, if that makes sense, and just trying to follow your own desires and force and rush things if it's not according to God's will and timing, okay? So all of this is to say, if you do find a Catholic man, I'm also going to put air quotes, Catholic man, I think the second step to that is recognizing, is he really Catholic? Is he really living out his faith? And does he have a heart of Christ? I say this because, especially in the Catholic world, should I say, it seems like people are kind of just born into it and then they like self-identify as Catholic. But then when it comes to actually living out the lifestyle, if that makes sense, they just don't. And so some like very simple, standards, I would say, to like seeing, and judging if he is, should I say, quote unquote Catholic. I know that there's some nuance to this, but just for sake of argument, let's just keep going with this. I would ask, does he go to mass every week? And maybe even go to daily mass? How many times does he go to confession in a year? Is he living out the virtues? Does he love to talk about his faith openly with you? Is he praying pretty constantly? I think these are just some basic indicators and, again, standards that I think are okay for you to kind of ask yourself. Because again, if you meet a guy and he says he's Catholic because, his grandpa was Catholic, when he was growing up, but then that's it, and he doesn't go to mass, or he barely does, or he kind of just lives life according to his own stuff, I don't really know if that's somebody you want to consider for dating, okay? And that's why I'm highly recommending that you do not rush and you are very patient when it comes to dating. And in fact, there's this really cute 1950s song called You Can't Hurry Love, I think by the Supremes, if I'm not mistaken. I love 1950s music, by the way. And if you need help with patience, just listen to that song, because it just says you cannot rush it and you cannot hurry it. And it's this cute little song also because it's like saying, my mom used to tell me you can't hurry love kind of thing. And that's like the premise of the song. So anyway, I highly recommend that. Of course, pray about it too. But I don't know. I love music. And again, like especially the 1940s and 50s, I love the kind of messages that they gave to young girls. So number one is he Catholic? And then if he is, go for it. And really judge for yourself if that is something that's very important to you. But I would highly recommend going for somebody who has an equal level of faith, if that makes sense, or more. So, and I know that's kind of more like hypergamy, but and that's like weird to kind of like judge faith, but I think so I think it would be fair if you want a Catholic man who's very devout, then you should also kind of show up to the table with a devout faith as well. But also it shouldn't be transactional. I'm just saying I think it's easier when you guys have the same level of faith. But okay. So after finding out that he is very Christ-like and he has a Christ-like heart, my second, at least this is personally, like my second, like must have is that he has to be respectful. He has to be a good, sweet, and kind man, okay? He doesn't cuss. He doesn't use names or call names or, make fun of people. Or, I mean, not that I don't think I think most guys are not like that, but still I've seen some pretty awful guys. Or is he aggressive or maybe rough with you? Because I see a lot in today's world with dating. I don't know what it is with this generation, but there's a lot of name calling and they think it's like cute and funny. Like, I don't even want to say those names, but sometimes they'll just be like, oh, you're such a, and it's like so cute. Or I've even seen this thing where like couples flip each other off and that's like a sign of affection. I think it's so trashy. I'm sorry. Like, talk about classless. So if your husband or guy that you're trying to discern to date does those kinds of things, or he comes from a family that does those kinds of things, I would highly recommend not dating him. And then if you come from that kind of family, I'm really sorry, but I would highly encourage you to stop showing, should I say, affection in that way. It's just that, talk about Christ-like, that is not Christ-like at all. I can't imagine, Jesus talking that way or acting that way as a form of showing his affection. So I don't know, that's just me. But yes, he has to be respectful, but on top of him being respectful to you, for me at least, it's vital that he is also respectful to others, because I've met many men, and I'm not talking about my own romantic relationships, by the way. I'm just talking about like any guy out there. I've met many men who are very sweet to me in person, and they're kind and they're good guys to me. But then I see them with others, aka let's say like servers, like at restaurants, or people who are working for him or something like that. And he's just very rough and aggressive with them. So that was just such an ick. I hate to say that word, but it's true. And just such a unattractive trait is him, like, I guess, like cherry picking who he's respectful and sweet to. So I would highly recommend going for a guy who's very calm, chill, and slow to anger. I think that's a big thing too, actually. Anger is a huge thing for guys, unfortunately. Of course, I'm sure there are women who struggle with it as well, but I've noticed that that's a very big indicator. So I would definitely try and gauge his threshold for being angry. Now, that doesn't mean go and test him. I don't believe in that kind of stuff, but observe it and see, does he have a low temper or a short temper and things like that? Because that will definitely show in your relationship at some point, and you do not want to experience that. So again, we go for great Christ-like men, hopefully Catholic, that are respectful towards you and towards others. And another indicator of how respectful he is seeing how he treats his family, friends, and strangers. Like I already said, with servers and such, I guess that goes under strangers. But his mom, his dad, his siblings, is he, kind of punching around his siblings if he's the older one, or is he talking bad about them or cussing them out? Like those are very big indicators that maybe he's not as sweet, should I say, as he seems to be. And I hope that every girl goes for respectful, good guys who love them and cherish them and make them feel like little princesses. Because I feel like, we're all children of God. And if he's the King of Kings, then we're princesses of the King. So, I don't know, at least personally, I feel like that is what our future husbands should be making us feel like. So if he's not, I would say he's probably not the man for you, and women shouldn't be dating that guy. Okay. The third thing, which is really important, is making sure you have the same values, visions, and goals for the future. I say this one because there are so many times in which, like, the first two things are totally solid. Like, he is a super solid Catholic guy, and he's extremely respectful, and he treats you very well, and I love that for you. But, like, your paths, should I say, do not seem to be aligned, and that's going to be a huge thing. Now, values is not just, being Catholic and such, but for me, at least, if I'm ever dating a guy or, getting to know a guy, like, the top things I ask, like, kind of straight off the bat, is about money, how he handles his money, what he expects in terms of, children and kids, like how many does he want? How does he think he's going to raise them? What does he want the family unit to look like? Like what does he think like a fun day with the family would be? Like what, like activities, I guess, would we do? Things like that, like even hobbies or whatever. And also about, I'm going to say intimacy, what his views are on that and how he kind of wants his intimacy life to look like in his marriage. Now, I'm not like right off the bat, like, hi, it's nice to meet you. And then I ask those questions. Like, no, it's, once we get to know each other and it seems to be going in a positive direction. And again, he fulfills the first two requirements of being Catholic and respectful. Then we start to just both kind of ask each other these things so that we're not wasting each other's time. And so I ask those, with money, values, is he a spender? Or does he cherish money to be something to be used generously to help others? Does he see it as a tool, or does he see it as just something to spend? Is he more of a saver? Is he more of an investor? Is he more of a spender? Things like that. And then, do we view most things the same way? Do we view the world the same way? Do we have the same kind of opinions? I mean, I don't think you should have exactly 100% the same opinions, but, if he's extreme conservative, let's say, and you're extreme liberal, I don't really know how well that's going to work. And then also, again, how are you going to raise the kids? Like, what kind of environment do you want to encourage your kids to be raised in, if that makes sense? And then, vision for the future. Like, what does he want in life? Like, does he want to just live a very settled life, or is he extremely ambitious? Does he think he's going to move in the next 5 years? And that's always my question, is where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then where do you see yourself in 10 years? And then where do you see yourself in your lifetime, And then goals, do you have the same goals? Now, for goals, I don't think it should be, again, like exactly 100%. And I'm not even talking about goals like, oh, he wants to run a marathon and I don't, so like we should break up. Like, it's not really like that. I think it's more like, oh, he wants 2 kids and I want 4 kids or something. And that's his goal and that's what he settled on and that's it. And let's say I really want 4 or something. Like, how would we then work with that? So I would honestly say that the whole like same values, vision, and goals things has to do with just understanding how you think, because obviously we can't predict your future is going to look like, and what kind of life do you want to build? Like, what kind of future life are you going for? I don't know. For me, that's very important because, again, if he wants 1 child and I want 1 billion, I don't know, then that's going to be very hard. And whoever's going to have to settle on that might create resentment. I don't know. So I don't want to do that. Okay, then this one is very controversial, but I'm going to hold strong to this one. Okay. And this is kind of like a little bit of an outlier for a second, and then we'll go back. Does he struggle with watching certain things online, if you know what I mean? I don't want to say the word, and I think you know what it means, but does he struggle, should I say actually, with lust? That's how I'm going to say it. If he does, you do not date him. I know that's an extremely controversial topic and opinion, but you do not date him. You have no objective and you don't owe him dating him if he's struggling with that. And I know many men struggle with this, and unfortunately I would say they aren't deserving of a loving, virtuous relationship if he is not bringing virtue to the table. And I say this because most marriages now are struggling a lot. Well, I wouldn't say most. Well, actually, yeah, if the majority of marriages are divorcing, then yes, I would say most marriages are struggling with that. It's either money or it's this kind of stuff. Of course, there are other topics, but it seems to be these are the top 2. And so you do not want that to bleed into your relationship and for you to have to deal with that. At least personally, I think I'm not here to compete with any other woman. Okay, that's not my job. I don't want to do that. I have no desire to be in a relationship with a man who's looking at, naked women online and doing awful things and watching awful things. And so I would rather be in my little single cocoon, happy-go-lucky, doing my little thing, learning, developing myself, growing, than having to deal and settle with that. Because I think just as women, naturally, that kind of stuff just irks us so much. And I know that the modern day dating is kind of like skipping over that and kind of denying themselves. Like, women are denying themselves in terms of them not wanting their partners to do that. But the fact that like we allow that to happen and like we're okay with that is just weird, honestly. And I feel really bad. And the way I think about it is I'm like, your insecurity is showing if you're okay with your husband or your boyfriend or whatever doing that. So that's just a little side note. If your husband, again, I know this is datings, but I guess should I say your future husband, if he's struggling with that, if there's a guy who's, perfect on paper, like everything else that I'm going to say he has, but he struggles with this, do not let it into your world. Okay, that is just inviting sin into your world, and you shouldn't be doing that. Just like if he is disrespectful and rude and mean, and you're like, yeah, but he's perfect in every other way. I can take, him insulting me or calling me names. That's just inviting sin into your relationship, and that's going to either encourage you to be evil back and lose your virtue, or have a lot of resentment. And none of those things are good things from God. Okay. So I know a lot of men are going to be frustrated hearing that, but they need to figure that stuff out for themselves. They're men, they're grown men. They need to figure it out and work on that. Okay. But anywho, and then actually going back to the whole values thing with the whole, we are, judging these men and we're discerning on if we want to date these guys, but you also have to realize that you are not perfect, right? And so I see a lot of girls have these extremely high standards for men, and that's great, and I love that, but they don't have those same standards for themselves. So I'm also going to be honest, because a lot of girls for some reason don't talk about this. Like, your standards need to be realistic, if that makes sense. Like, if you want a man who's really great with his business, let's say, or with his money or something, but you are a shopaholic and you are not a good shepherdess with your money, I don't think it's very valid for you to be going after a man who's really good with his money. Or if you are going, if you want, actually, and this is going to bleed into the next thing, if you want just like a hot guy, even though I don't really, you're going to hear what I have to say about that, just a hot guy, well, then you also have to be able to, be taking care of yourself and making sure that, he's also somebody that you want to date. But anywho, now here's a little note that a lot of women, I think, need to hear in today's day and age, which is just not being broadcasted in any way. And then we have all these women who are just absolutely hurt and frustrated with dating. And that is, going after a rich, tall, or hot man is not the kind of thing that you think you really want. I think every woman innately, like, her desire is that, but I would really encourage you to not just be led by your desires and be led with logic, okay? A rich, tall, or hot man does not guarantee any virtuous thing in your marriage, okay? And I just see so many women online. I mean, maybe they're outliers and they're not actually the majority of women, but I do know some women, though, who are like, I would never date a man who's not 6, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're really going to settle on, this hot guy, but he has zero love, respect, respect for you as a woman, but he is tall. Like, I don't know. It's so weird to me, and it doesn't really make sense, but, I don't know. Those kinds of traits are just not loving at all. And if you're going to try and fight me on that and be like, yeah, well, I still want that and I don't want to settle. Okay, that's fine. But then do you think it's reasonable for a man to just go after a woman because she's hot or beautiful or skinny or whatever? You'd be like, no, that's not really fair. Like, he's objectifying her. Well, yeah, going after a rich, tall, or hot man is also objectifying him. And that is not godlike at all. Go for his heart, okay? Because a hot, rich, tall, whatever guy is not necessarily going to fulfill you in all the other ways that I think you want to be fulfilled, which is, there's a sense of security, there's a sense of loyalty, the fact that he loves you, like he really loves you and cherishes you. I mean, yeah, it might look great on paper, surface level, but then behind closed doors, you're going to be miserable because you didn't date him for any type of heart things. So just a little word of caution to any girls out there, because I know when you're young, that's like the most important thing is to get like a rich guy or, a tall or hot guy. But all I'm going to say is sweet guys who treat you so well, are very generous to you, and again, kind of like treat you like princesses, are the real winners here, okay? That is Christ-like. A man who is willing to like drop everything to like, or at least drop to call you and help you out is a winner over a guy who just can buy you, whatever you want. I don't know. And that's just so materialistic, and that is showing that you have a love of money over a love of God. And because a godly man, you wouldn't be, feeling those feelings towards, if that makes any sense. So I just wanted to put that note, because it just saddens me because all these girls I know go for tall, rich, hot guys, and then their boyfriends don't want to do anything with them. These boyfriends don't respect them or, give them that sense of security, romance, intimacy, and sweetness that I think a normal, happy-go-lucky, healthy relationship would. And then they feel empty, they feel used because these girls are usually very beautiful. And is that really what you want? I don't know. At least for me, I really am going for that 1940s, 1950s dating lifestyle where it's so sweet, it's so romantic. We listen to each other, we respect each other, and we really build such a sweet life together. And I don't know, maybe I'm weird in that way, but it seems to be very fulfilling, and it brings me much closer to God when I have all these boxes checked, like him being Catholic, like him being respectful, like him having the same values, visions, and goals. There's a sense of security that you gain as a woman when you're talking to that kind of man and when you have those kinds of relationships. So I know that social media and the world and the lifestyle right now is very fast, it's very glamorous, it's very flashy, but it's not fulfilling at all. And I just don't want you to feel like you're being used for your body or for your looks. So that was just a note. And then, okay, so now the last thing that I'm going to say, of course I can do like 1,000 other qualities that I think women should look for in men. But now I'm just going to say, in terms of Catholic dating, what are some boundaries and limits that you should maybe have in your relationship? And I'm going to kind of be giving it off of what I would do. But number one is there are no indoor activities alone. And so what I mean by that is, like, I personally would never be in his home alone with him, let alone no getting on his bed, no going into his bedroom, him doing the same with me. I mean, I don't mind if, let's say, he comes over to my house and meets my family, we give him the tour, of course, like he would see all the bedrooms and stuff, but we would never hang out in my bedroom, or his bedroom. I don't believe in going on the couch together very closely. I don't know. It's just also personally, that's just not my vibe. I want to be outside doing fun activities outside, even if that's literally just walking or going on a run or doing some sort of sport thing. I don't know. I don't want to be indoors with him. So I think the closest thing that I would probably do if like we want to watch a movie or something is we would do it with family members around, possibly like siblings. I don't really believe in the whole like chaperone thing. I think that's a bit much. Like I think you should have self-control. But if you were very tempted and you don't have a lot of self-control, then sure. But at least for me, I would feel a bit uncomfortable being just alone with him in a home, in a house. Excuse me. I don't know. It's just, that's not, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's just not what I'm going for. So no indoor activities alone. This one's a big one. No sleepovers. Even if it's like you're on his couch or he's on your couch or whatever, no sleepovers at all. I just personally, I think that is very much indicative of a lifestyle of marriage, like sleeping in each other's home, if you will, like sleeping under the same roof is very indicative of the lifestyle of marriage. And so I'm going to wait to experience that when I am married. And then, I would also encourage you avoiding being alone, especially at night. I mean, I'm not like one of those, kind of weird Christian people who are like, I have all these rules and we have to follow it. And it's like, again, that very like Christian culture thing rather than actually emulating like purity from your heart. I don't know. But for me, I don't mind being alone. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like it could be okay, but I guess just avoiding certain settings that are conducive with maybe being tempted. Okay. So that's another thing. Another thing is he will never see me in my pajamas or my nightwear. That's just a very big thing for me. Again, I think that is just left for your husband to see and experience, even if it's, sweats and stuff. I just don't. And also it will, if you will, taint his impression of you actually. So you want to kind of uphold a very classy look all throughout your relationship with him. Not saying that, being in PJs is unclassy, but in front of him before marriage, there's just like a mental thing that's going to happen there. So I would just highly recommend not doing that. And then let's see, anything else that's like more physical. Like I don't mind, let's say, going on drives together and be like, I guess that would be alone. But would I be in a car talking with him at midnight, just us two? Probably not. So those are at least some of mine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, this was a big one that I heard once, and I this is so smart. Our feet never leave the ground. I thought that was so smart. Your feet shouldn't really leave the ground, especially when you're alone. I guess if you're with others, I guess it should be fine, right? But when you're alone, I think that's a really great thing. Your feet should never leave the ground, so you shouldn't be, maybe completely on top of each other on a couch or something like that. But I would really just encourage, I don't know why, it seems to be like it's a big tempting thing, like when you're dating. I personally don't get it. Like, I think self-discipline and self-control is very important. And so if you don't have that, I would recommend not dating yet. I would develop that skill first. And having control over yourself, I don't know. It's kind of cringy knowing that you could be overcome by your body, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's just me. So all of that is to say, I would highly recommend going outside. Honestly, that is my favorite thing ever. Even if it's sitting on a bench outside and just talking, I love that. Or going on walks, or going to restaurants and eating yummy food, or going on runs, going on ski trips together, whatever. Oh, and actually I was also going to say, when it comes to traveling, I would 99%, unless it's there's no other way, I would only be in separate rooms when we're traveling. If we were to get a hotel or hostel or something, it would be in separate rooms. That is just a thing for me. And again, he would not see me in my pajamas or whatever. He would have to wait until I change. If it's 9 p.m. and I'm in my room and I just put my PJs on and he wants to tell me one last minute thing, then he'll have to wait until I put, or at least cover myself, put some clothes on, and then we can talk and stuff. So again, I have so many different things that I can share if you girlies want. And just to recap, hopefully, I think you should strive for a Catholic man who is very virtuous, but I also think you should be a virtuous woman as well. I don't think it's fair, like I was saying, to have very high standards when you don't even have them for yourself. So a high value, should I say, Catholic man who has a heart of Christ through and through with everybody, and he's respectful to you and towards everybody. And then hopefully you guys have the same values, vision, and goals. And all those physical limits I also said. And then just the last note, like I also already said, is try not to just go for rich, tall, and hot. I think you will feel more fulfilled by going after a man for his heart rather than these superficial things. Because if you go after superficial things, you're going to have a superficial relationship. And I don't think that's what God wants for us. I think he wants us to enjoy each other's company and be able to be ourselves and not feel like we have to uphold such impossible superficial standards for ourselves. And what I mean by this is, if let's say you're going for rich, tall, or hot, and hot, you want the whole package, like a Chad, let's say, then he's probably going to look for a Barbie doll. And so if you're okay, then yeah, I'll strive to be a Barbie doll. Okay. But then you're just being objectified for your body. And again, like I was saying before, you're not going to feel fulfilled in your heart. You're not going to feel a sense of security that he loves you for who you are rather than what you look like and all these other kind of things. So if you like this video / episode, please let me know. Again, I'd love to do more of this. I just don't really know if people want to hear about Catholic dating and all these kinds of things, because I think they're very interesting and I think they're very smart to follow if you're trying to have a virtuous, fulfilling, loving, happy-go-lucky, healthy relationship. But okay. Anywho, thank you so much for listening. I love you all so much and I really appreciate all the support from you guys. I love reading your comments and hearing everything. So please keep it coming. I'm here to read and listen to everything. But anywho, I hope you guys have a blessed day. I'm praying for you. God bless. Bye.